invocation by Magistrate Thompson and our pledge by Magistrate Whitehead. Please rise.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, today we lift ourselves up to you. We pray, Lord, that this would be a time that would be right and good in your eyes and uplifting. Father, we praise you for this community at this time of year when we're reminded of the many sacrifices that have been made to establish a country where we have freedom to call out to you, Father, in the name of the Holy Spirit, depending on your Son, Jesus. We praise you. We thank you for it. We pray, Lord, that you'd find us ever faithful to you in our service to this community and this country. Lord, thank you for the privilege of government that you ordained of the people, by the people, for the people. Lord, let us be people who contribute in that way, locally here in Hardin County. Bless this time, Lord, as we have a time of input and town hall kind of meeting that we would all bring before you what is good, right, and positive, and then consider the best ways to move forward. Bless each one who's present, and each one who may have tuned in and is hearing my voice. Bless them, Father, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I must say, I had thought there was going to be more folks here tonight than are here, so I don't think the housekeeping rules will be much of a problem tonight. There's no time restrictions on talking, but I would ask everyone that does choose to speak to be mindful of others that might want to speak as well. And check your phone, too, if you would. Please silence that. And our purpose with these town hall meetings is and has always been to not really to debate. We want to hear from the folks. We want to hear from our citizens. We want to hear their suggestions that's related only to county government. And other than that, I hope we just have a very good dialogue tonight together and discuss, I know, one really important issue that all of us are very mindful of and are very concerned about, and it's our emergency services in the county. And I know some of our firefighters and some of our leaders are here tonight, and hopefully to address that and inform us a little bit more about their thoughts concerning emergency services. So whoever would want to begin, please step forward. Just state your name. You don't have to give your address. Do I not see anyone that wants to speak? Mayor?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to address the court. To put a point on the fire commissioner argument today, I learned that the city of West Point will not be receiving its state fire aid this year, which is over half of our fire department's budget. Reason? Not enough volunteer firefighters have enough training hours to satisfy the minimal requirement. Less than half of our 17-man department managed to receive the annual 20-hour required training. We could, of course, threaten termination for these people who refuse to take the training, but then that would drop us below the 12-man requirement, and our fire department would cease to exist. The common thread, the lack of volunteer firefighters throughout the county, leading to significant decrease in public safety, is an issue squarely under the purview and responsibility of this court. This is not a future problem. This is a now problem. The problem was specifically identified by professionals along with the step-by-step solutions in the study prepared for the county, but the court has failed to act, citing concerns over what the total future cost might be. Public safety is our first responsibility. In this case, you do what is necessary to protect the public and find the money where necessary. With over $30 million in county reserves and with well over an additional $2 million in annual revenue from the Legacy Fund coming into the county coffers, this first step, which is hiring a county fire commissioner, is nearly a rounding error in the current budget, yet you failed to allow it. Yes, future costs may include the implementation of additional tax or reduction in other less important services, neither of which is particularly politically popular. But our reelection does not appear in our oath of office. Should you continue to fail to take swift and decisive action, in the not-too-distant future, someone will die. Maybe because there's no one to respond to a fire, an auto accident, a water rescue, or maybe it just took too long for help to arrive. Maybe because a volunteer fireman went on a run alone since there was no one else available, and there was no one to save him from the situation in which he should never have been alone. This took place this past week. We had a fireman out by himself in the fire truck. This unnecessary death, this tragedy will be on your hands. I beg you, quit campaigning on how much money you're saving the taxpayer and do what is necessary to save their lives.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Mr. Mullins?
Bill Mullins from Elizabethtown area, Incorporated, Hardin County. Fire Chief of Central Hardin. As a fire chief, one of our biggest challenges we face isn't just responding to emergencies. It's ensuring we're prepared before the call ever comes in. A tremendous amount of my time is spent on administrative responsibilities, such as grant management, budgeting, training records, equipment maintenance, reporting, compliance with state and federal regulations, personnel management. Those duties are essential to operating a modern fire department. They also take valuable time away from planning, training, and leading our emergency response. Our greatest operational need is daytime staffing. Like many volunteer departments, most of our members work outside our district during normal business hours. It leaves us very limited personnel available when emergencies happen during the day. When someone calls 911, they expect trained firefighters to arrive quickly, regardless of the time of day. We also face the challenge of aging apparatus and equipment. Much of our fleet has served the community well for many years, but fire trucks have a finite service life. As they age, maintenance costs go up, reliability decreases, and they often lack the safety features and capabilities found on modern apparatus. The same is true for many of the pieces of equipment our firefighters rely on every day. Investing in reliable apparatus and up-to-date equipment is an investment in firefighter safety, operational effectiveness, and protection of our community. The demands on the fire service continue to grow while expectations remain high. Volunteers are committed to serving this community, but commitment alone cannot overcome limited staffing, increased administrative demands. We want to continue providing the level of emergency services our citizens deserve. We must invest in the people, equipment, and infrastructure to make that possible. These are not wants, these are essential needs to ensure we can answer the next call safely, effectively. Central Hardin, I have had Valley Creek Fire Department on automatic aid since sometime in February. CO call, and as far as Central Hardin members, I was in Northern Kentucky this morning. No Central Hardin members. I believe Valley Creek did. Got an opportunity to check. Today's not the first time this has happened. Problem. It's just, I don't have the answers, but we've all got to come together and find a solution, and I think the public deserves it.
Chief, you made a good point. We don't have the answers. We've all looked at the study that was commissioned and given to us in 2024. I've looked through it several times. There's all kinds of options, different options. Have you all, and when I say you all, I'm talking about the Fire Chiefs Association, have you all pinpointed a plan that you prefer or you think is the plan for Hardin County?
I had some discussions, but I can't say that. Give you a recommendation.
Well, the reason I asked the question is because I've been reading on social media in different places and also talking to individuals about how we're not paying attention as magistrates in fiscal court about and care about the situation, which we do, all of us do. But we haven't heard a plan, and we have a specific plan. We haven't heard how it's going to be financed. We haven't had all the details that we need to make that decision. I just want it to be clear from your association, you're not looking at a group of individuals that don't care and has not been responsive. We do. We're just waiting for someone to give us the plan. We're not the experts. We're here to listen. That's why we have these town hall meetings, is for folks like you all, the experts, to come in and talk with us and tell us and explain to us exactly what you think that we need. Now, it'll be up to us to decide whether or not we can afford whatever's been presented. But until we get to that point, we're not going anywhere. We're spinning our wheels. And the mayor spoke about the fire coordinator position that was cut out of the budget. And then this was a decision made by the magistrates, not the judge. The judge pushed hard for it. But our position on that is that's the first domino to fall in the whole scheme of things. And until we know where we're going with all this, we just don't feel like it's the time to move on any piece of it until we get there. So I just want that to be clear, and that may be my position, but I'm pretty sure there's several on this court that maybe feel the same about it. And so I just want, like you said, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to sit down and do, we don't have these safety meetings anymore where a lot of us started out being in them. We're no longer involved in them. So, we're disconnected. Yeah. So, we've got to figure out a way to talk about the issue, move the issue forward, and figure out a way to fund it. And because the citizens in the unincorporated areas, they deserve service. I understand that, but we can only provide what we can afford to provide. I've heard it mentioned many times, we're the 6th largest county in the state. We might be the 6th largest county in the state, but we're also one of them that cannot do all the taxes that all these other counties like Warren and others that can do. So we don't have the funds to do the things they are doing, so their model does not exactly fit ours. It's a good maybe guide for us to look at, but I know we've had some good presentations and some good data given to us in the past in some of our committee meetings and stuff. But till we get to that point, I just don't see us going much further until we can sit down and get those things identified, and so we can make decisions. But I appreciate you being here, appreciate your comments, and I always appreciate your service.
Fred, I'd like to add, and I genuinely hope that you don't take this as insulting, but just out of curiosity, I'm not sure how a fire coordinator would have helped in the situation that you were just recently talking about, and Mayor, the one you had presented. Initially we talked about having the fire coordinator being stationed somewhere here, right? And Mayor, you mentioned one person responding to fire. If a fire coordinator is one person, if we didn't have any volunteer people, how could that person respond, right? That's not what we've talked about this entire time. That's the issue. That's part of the issue is we're only having one person respond or no one respond. Having one person respond is not a benefit. The benefit is working with other entities that have the capabilities or something along those lines. And, back to the West Point situation, even if we had the fire coordinator position, how are we going to still force the volunteer firemen to still do their training? That fire coordinator can't do that, can't force them to do it. if they want to be a volunteer firefighter, they have to do the training. Having a paid position isn't going to force them to do their training. So, you can entice them, hey, we need to, you stay on top of it, you got to, but why can't we do that now and not pay someone to tell them to do that? And that's one position that I've got. And then we have talked about, okay, if it does, there's a big push for this fire department to be potentially started in Glendale, right? It's kind of where the catalyst of that's been presented for using some funding for the state to be put in Glendale. How would a paid fire department that's in Glendale get to West Point quicker than any other entity from here up?
It's not going to be a ideal response.
So, but taking that in note, how can we have a plan that says, hey, this is where we're going to start here, this is the area, this is in all the, we don't have any of that, right? We have the study, we all have the study. You can put that information on us and say, yeah, the study says that. Yes, it does say that, but I'm not a fire expert. I don't know what equipment you should or should not have, but there's not been a plan that says, hey, we need this apparatus, this, and this, other than, the study says you need to get new equipment. You see what I'm saying? And until we have that, and I've asked the judge, hey, how many times are we going to get presented, or how many firemen are we going to have, or what's that look like? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, or I'm not going to answer that. Until we have that, how can we make a decision?
The Warren County situation, they started with that coordinator, and he came up with a lot of those. Was tasked with, like I said, administrative. A lot of times, set aside a day to do administration stuff and get fire calls, and administrative stuff don't get done. So,
Yeah, I understand that aspect.
anyway, I don't have the answers, but we'll have to work harder to come up with something for you to either accept or reject.
I do think, and I have said this, I think every emergency service meeting that we've talked about it, why can't we utilize the assets that we currently have and look at job description and maybe change that job description to help reflect maybe overseeing that a little bit more? Instead of adding a new position, add some responsibilities. That's always been a stance that I've taken. It's quicker, it's easier, and it's already there. So that's just my thought.
I'd like to make a few comments just because I have a different perspective. And one of the reasons that I haven't answered the question of what is the plan is because my impression was, up till the time that the budget was changed, was that we were going to hire a coordinator or deputy director for fire services, as the title actually is. And this person would have certain qualifications and would be able to focus. It'd be a full-time job. It'd be like the person that Warren County hired, except not maybe to the level that they hired. They paid that person a lot more than what we're saying. But it would be somebody that could focus on our fire services every day. And, I've got the job description right here, and I'm not saying it's a perfect job description, but it's, it does cover a lot of the things that that we're talking about, and that this person would be responsible for pulling together a very detailed plan for the next year, 2 years, 5 years. So up until that point in time, that was the plan, okay, and that we thought that this person was going to be available to work on that. I don't have a full-time person right now to focus in on this. And I know that as far as the chiefs of all the volunteer fire departments are concerned, just from what you just told us, and I've heard it over and over again, just the administrative work that a lot of the chiefs are required to do or trying to do takes hours and hours of work, just the administrative side of it. There's a few of the volunteer fire departments, I believe, that have a volunteer that is kind of administrative that might step in and do some of that work. But not all of them have that that person to do that. So, you know, this I guess, disagreement on whether we should proceed with this particular new position, my opinion is still, my opinion still is to go ahead and hire this person to give us some more resources to continue to work on the plan. Now, since then, we have started to work on a plan, and we will be ready to present that to the chiefs, all the volunteer fire department chiefs, probably in 2 weeks is the goal, whenever you have your next meeting, okay? And get some feedback for that, and then after that, probably in August at the next emergency service committee meeting, is be prepared to provide a draft of a plan that will answer those questions. So we will put the plan together. You know, it's going to take some time to finish it and get it done. But I'm hopeful by the end of August, maybe in September, that we'll have a very good strategic plan for at least the next 5 years, and laid out year by year so that all of us can look at it and hopefully come maybe with some compromises or something. You know, it's probably not going to be perfect for everybody, but we'll come up with something that will lay this thing out. But in that plan is going to be to hire this coordinator or this deputy director. So anyway, I think I just wanted to comment on that there is, I think there was to answer, there was a change in how we were going to do this, and now we're going to do the best we can to put together the plan without a full-time person to actually focus on it. And we're going to need your all's input and help at the right time. We're going to come up with at least a framework or a draft that you guys can look at and help us to refine it. And we'll try to get as much agreement from 11 different fire departments, you know, as we can. That's not an easy task, but I think we can come up with a pretty good, a pretty good document that will be something that we can look at and we can change. Obviously, it will just be a plan. It's something that won't be set in stone for the next 5 years or whatever, but at least we can start from someplace, start to implement it, and then make changes as we need to. So that's from my perspective, and the reason that I was pushing, I just wanted to answer that. The reason I was pushing to go ahead and get this person hired is we know we're going to have to respond. We've got to make some changes here. And, to me, it's obvious in Hardin County that Glendale is still the place where most of the growth is going to happen. And now that Ford has taken over, that has delayed things, which is actually a blessing probably for the county, to give us more time to plan out what we need to have there and really get, a Hardin County Fire Department started. But even in Glendale, I don't see that. All this stuff is a phased-in approach. And we can't afford to just jump in full blast here. We just don't have the money to do a full-time fire department, even in Glendale. Now, we do have $34 million sitting out there. Take out the $15 million rainy day fund that we've established. That gives us still about, $20 million that's available to work in this area of public safety. I'm not saying we need to go out and spend it all tomorrow. I don't know. But I do know that we do have some money. It's not like we're broke and we can't afford to do anything. So this initial position of for Hardin County government to have a fire services deputy director at about $100,000 total cost, like the mayor said, is a very small amount to pay to get us really started, really get going on this thing, and try to pull our resources together over the next 5 years. We may still not have a full-time fire department. I'm not even sure that that's the answer. I don't know that I think it was mentioned that we might need some additional revenue. I don't know that we need any additional revenue right now. In 3 years, I'm still hopeful we can end up with some reduction in the amount of money that we're subsidizing the jail. I'm still hopeful that we can get that done. It's going to take another couple of years maybe before we find out. But I know the counties are still struggling, not just Hardin County, in that area. And if we could just cut that in half, that'd be $3 million right there that would be available to put in this direction of public safety instead of the jail. So lots of things can happen in the next couple of years that could free up some additional money. Another fee or tax would be the last resort, I believe. But I do know we have to move and we have to do something, and we can't sit around and wait much longer. So that's why there's a focus right now, because I understand that from the magistrate's point of view, that you'd like to see a plan before you do much with this. I was thinking the other way. Let's get the person in, let them help develop the plan, and then let's all come together on what that plan looks like and agree to it. So in the next several months, we're going to focus in on it. And I'm going to need your help and all the other chiefs to help us to refine it at some point. Does that make sense?
It does, and the chiefs will be more than willing to meet and help on that plan. Give any input that we can.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Mr. Mabry was going to speak. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned how would a fire coordinator help the situation we have in West Point, or how a fire department in Glenville is going to help us out. That's not the point. The point is this overall plan and expertise. You've all talked about you want a professional opinion, you need some guidance. We all admit we don't know anything about this, most of us. This position is the person that we're trying to put, that I would like to see put in this position to pull all this together. From my understanding, the cost of this position, what 60, 100 grand a year is even if you did this and it goes nowhere, they're here a year and it's like this plan's going nowhere. At least you've moved the ball forward. At least you've looked at it. We're not going to fix this overnight. I believe, everybody can hate me for this, I believe we're going to end up with some type of county fire department. Or we're going to end up with at least one paid firefighter in each firehouse. Somebody has to be there to make sure everything gets done. The biggest issue with volunteers, at least in most of our part of the country, is that everybody works during the day, so there's nobody there during the day, and that's when a good portion of the runs come in. So just having someone that's in that position, that's an expert, that can even talk to our people and say, look, help get us through these hard times. We're working on a better plan. Right now, there's nothing out there for them. And the dissolution of this idea of the fire coordinator is very disheartening. It appears that, and I know everybody says, oh, we care, but that's not what the appearance to the public is. Thanks.
I find it kind of ironic that as a mayor of an unincorporated city with no paid fire department, no paid police department, and I know why, because of lack of funding, because you don't have the funds, is up here telling us what we need to do.
Well, I would say you have the funds. If I had the funds, I'd have a
We don't
full-time
have the
police department.
reoccurring funds.
Well, but you don't know that. And you do have the reoccurring funds. You're pulling in over $2 million a year from the legacy fund that's not earmarked
That's
for
not
anything.
reoccurring funds.
It's, so we're going to store money away for a rainy day and let other people die because we chose not to do something. I mean, it's just ludicrous. If you folks had the same budget I do, I could fully understand it. But you don't. And you have more resources, and you have future resources, probably. So that's my, thanks.
You'd mentioned that, it gives the appearance that we don't care, but they came to us with an exact plan on using a new software. Came to us with the software, so it is exactly what's going to happen, how much, no questions asked. Got done. But telling us we need somebody to come up with a plan, and honestly, this is, I would probably feel insulted if I was Mr. Mabry back there, who has spent plenty of time, energy, and effort into doing this, just to hire someone to do the same thing that he's basically done. If they came with a plan and just said, hey, this is what we think should happen, it would be a lot easier for us to look at. But just saying, hey, we need to, and, you know, Judge, you did make a point. You said, well, I think we should just get somebody and then do the plan. Well, what was the point of the study in the first place? That's the plan, right? You got to see the effects.
But
And
wasn't
so-
the fire coordinator part of the study? Wasn't that one of the
It
recommendations?
is
from the
a
study?
recommendation, correct. It is a recommendation.
And is
But,
that-
but it also has recommendations for funding for future, right?
Right.
And, you know, there's a lot of disagreements on the hospital money,
Mm-hmm.
you know, legacy fund, hospital money, whatever it may be. But again, you can't spend your retirement money and expect to have money in the future. And it's been made comments, oh, well, we'll get more money whenever everything else comes online. Well, we've already seen what happened one time. It's gone offline. So until we know for sure, you can't spend money you don't have. And, you know, I'd venture to say if it wasn't for some of our savings on different things, we would spend it all.
But do you not agree the county's growing?
It is growing, but so are our expenses for our employees that we already have.
So won't revenue grow alongside that?
Okay, so revenue's growing and expenses are also growing. So it's not an increase. It's not an influx of revenue. They're both growing. Inflation, all the things that have been used as examples of why we need to give larger cost of living or COLAs or whatever raises we need to give, when you start giving all those extra, they're compounding. They're not going to stop, right?
I agree.
And our revenue is going to slowly grow. And unless something big does come online and it actually produces, which it's not going to for a long time, we're not going to have that offset. So we can't budget on something that we don't have. But I guess where my sticking point to anything that you've said is to say it's given this illusion that we don't care. That's not true. Every bit of EMS that's come through and said that we need this, this, and this, it's gotten done. Some people like to make it political in how they present it. It is what it is, but it got done, right? And I don't want to be sitting there and have somebody sit there and tell me, well, someone's dying, that's put on my life, because no, it's not. Have you all reached out to Radcliffe? Have you reached out to get extra help? Has the Fire Chiefs Association reached out to E-Town or Radcliffe or anybody else to see what we can do to do anything better? If you haven't done that, if you haven't made mandatory fees to increase how much money you're coming in, if you haven't done all these options, don't point the finger at us and tell me that someone's life is going to be because we didn't spend money. That's not what that's about. Do you see how that can be a little condescending?
I understand, but I also
Okay.
understand that out here in the trenches, where we have, I mean, our total fire department budget's $27,000 a year. We just lost half of it.
But why not? If it's in your city and you're technically, you know, that's under your purview, why weren't you on top of it? You're your fire coordinator in your city, right?
No, I'm a fire chief.
Okay, but he responds to who?
He's responsible to
Okay,
me.
so why weren't you on top of him to ask him? You can't do it. You can't force someone to do something that they're not going to do. So your volunteers who are volunteering their time, if they're not willing to do it, how can we force with a volunteer or with a paid fire coordinator? How are they going to force volunteers who are volunteering to do this training?
They're not. But I think the point is that we're not attracting volunteers. We need to figure out how we're going to pay somebody to do this. And the first step to that is having someone to put the plan together that says, okay, here's an option. Because I'm sure some of the volunteer fire departments probably don't need the paid person. Maybe they do have somebody that's there during the day. Others do. But we need a decision. We're sitting here in limbo waiting for whatever's going to happen next is not a decision.
So why do we have to pay a fire coordinator $100,000 when we could have the Fire Chief Association say, hey, this is what we'd like to do. This is how we can join. We can either join forces. We could do this. I personally would rather give $100,000 to have a paid firefighter or two. I've said that time and time and time again. That's what's going to solve the problem, not one person trying to sit here and tell us, hey, we think you should do this. We think you should do that. That's what the study said. Let's go to the firefighters and say, hey, what do you want us to do besides a coordinator? That's my personal opinion. I want somebody that's fighting fires, personally.
This is no disrespect to the Firefighters Association. You don't have a plan. Sitting here today, you don't have a plan.
That's what
and
we've
the
been
reason
saying.
is you're to get 11 people, 11 different firefighters to agree on what that plan is. Even in a majority is going to be tough. And that's how I believe it should be a paid position. Pull everybody together and make the best recommendation. It's my opinion. You have a right to yours. I'm good. I think that's we need to move forward. We need to stop kicking the can down the road and do something.
I agree.
Thanks.
We need to do something.
To piggyback on what you said, Mayor, I've read this study 3 times, and I find something new in it every time I read it. But it was given to us, as I said earlier, in 2024, and there was a 2 to 4 year plan laid out in that study. We're here 2 years, and not one of those 7 steps have been addressed. And the third item that they emphasize is the introduction of a varied level rate fee schedule, money. There's several options. They all come down to taxes. We're at the end of the year.
Or we could be hopeful.
We're here at the end of the year, it's election season. We hire a fire coordinator, gives him 6 months to get everything in place if he does what you're all advocating. And in January, February, new term, whoever's in charge will be able to go to the taxpayers then and talk to them how much it's going to cost them in taxes. We want to know that on the front end so that we can be transparent and be open with all the taxpayers in the unincorporated areas, because the cities are not going to be responsible for this. This is going to be the 39 to 40,000 residents out in the unincorporated areas that's going to foot this bill. And it's going to be a heavy bill, because in that same language it said this is going to be a significant financial obligation on the county. And so that's our biggest concern. We represent everybody in the county, I understand, but this is going to involve just a small portion of it, because most of the folks, well, you know, live up and down Dixie Highway. That's your largest population. They're not going to be affected by this. So it's going to be a heavy lift for Hardin County government to do everything. But I think everybody in here wants to do what you're talking about. None of us wants anybody to have anything wrong happen that we could have prevented, but it's not about us trying to prevent it. It's trying to be fiscally responsible and also put together a plan that actually makes sense, that everybody can agree upon and move forward on. Now, I'm confident that if we all sit down and try to figure this out and have communication between the cities and between the judge, let's quit this division as far as who's got the better idea. We all have good ideas. And if we come together, I think we can come out with a plan that at least will attack what we need in the initial stages. And then after we get that going, then we can move forward with, hopefully, in the future, a better service. I personally don't think the EMS building at Glendale is going to solve those problems. I've never thought that. And now that Bosk is no longer here, and they actually even rejected the fact that they even needed fire service, basically, when they were in charge down there. And now we've got Ford, and now we're looking at 2,100 employees instead of, as this study alluded to, 8,000. Things have changed. And so we need to either look at another model or we need to look at another approach. And we need the help of those professionals that's sitting out there and the ones that not here tonight to help us formulate that plan. That's what this is all about.
So one final question, and I agree. If you get everybody in the room, and who is that person, though? Who is that person in this county that can pull all of you and all the fire chiefs and everyone else together and get a result and and everybody agree on anything? I think that's my point. We're looking for this grandiose committee, and we all know very little gets done by committee. There doesn't seem to be a cohesive, let's do this first. And if we keep kicking the can down the road, we won't do anything first.
My answer to that, at this stage, we have an emergency manager and we have a deputy emergency manager. Our emergency manager is one of the more qualified people, I'd say, in the fire services in our community.
I'd agree.
There's no doubt in my military mind that he can come together with this group and try to come up with a plan that be presented to all of us to where we can make some decisions going forward. But I want it to be understood that we, and all this plan is still going to be down to revenue, and the people of the community need to be aware of every step we take so that they know what's coming down the pike.
So do you believe that our emergency service director has the time to put in?
Of course.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And since,
We will agree to disagree on that one.
yeah, exactly. And I will say for a fact that I'm the one that knows how much time he has. And if we just didn't have any floods and we didn't have any other issues in the county, then he would have some time to work on this. But it is a stretch, to say the least, to count on him to be the one to do it. But I will say that I have asked him, since I don't have this person that we're talking about with this job description, a full-time person to work on it, that I have asked him to work with Bonnie and with Mike Mabry, nice enough to volunteer his time, and to go ahead and pull together some sort of initial plan that we can get around the table and talk about. And I feel confident that we'll be able to do that. It may take a little longer than it would otherwise, and it may be a little more of a rough draft than what I would be able to get from somebody that was focused on it all the time. But if that's the cards that I'm dealt, then we will do the best we can to come up with this plan and do it in a reasonable amount of time with the resources that are available.
Mr. Mabry, you want to go ahead and speak? You don't? Okay. Anyone else out there want to speak to the subject?
I'd like to just briefly address, all the talk about plan and that kind of thing. When you're looking at strategic planning, and the number one problem is obviously volunteers and the lack of volunteers. And the best of my recollection, there was very little in the job description that addressed specific plans or issues about recruitment and retention. It may have been added later, but I'd like to see specific plans on how we can recruit volunteers and retain those individuals, some sort of plan for that. And I know you guys have talked about it, so if we could come together and while we're working together on this problem and incorporate that, because that is the biggest issue here.
Anyone in the audience would like to speak next? None. Anybody else have another comment? Okay, well, here.
I mean, I guess I'll say one more thing. The way I personally have looked at this fire coordinator is a reoccurring position until something is done. If this is just to summarize and create a plan, why could we not just have a contract person or somebody that can do this temporary? If the whole point of this is to come up with the actual plan, why can we not just create a contract person?
Well, I mean, if you look at the job description, there was more in there than come up with the plan. There's a whole lot of other activities and responsibilities that are laid out in here. So, I mean, we could try to find and go ahead and hire a contract company that doesn't exist in this county and may not exist in this state. But if so, it would be.
And I'm
I
not
feel
saying-
like we could find somebody for this position that would be someone that's very familiar with, that we could hire in this county, very familiar with fire services here, versus an outside contractor to come in and lay out something like that.
I didn't make any reference to anybody outside. In fact, I was actually thinking we would maybe contract somebody that would be within any realm, local person that actually would understand. Yeah, not an entity to do a study or something. Just somebody that potentially could be hired as this and at least show us what it looks like and get it moving forward.
At contract dollars, I don't know that it would, if money is the problem, I don't know that it would be that helpful, but is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, you got a full-time employee that you have to pay expenses on, and you have insurance and all these other things, when you could probably get someone just as qualified, willing to accept an X amount of dollars to do it within a year.
Okay.
mean, there's a possibility of maybe a steering committee. I hate committees because all it does is drag things out. But if we could get together a steering committee with professional people, and we've got some in here tonight, that could go through, we've got the plan. The plan's been here for 2 years. It tells us what we need to do. It gives us all the data. It's just going to be someone who knows how to read it and understand what our community looks like and what will work in our community. Because this is kind of, it takes in a lot of different experiences from other areas too. But it's there. It's just a matter of pulling it together and putting it down a plan on paper. And so, I think we could have a steering committee that could lead us in that direction. I don't know, but I really think that's an option. Well, go ahead, Mike.
I wasn't planning to speak this evening. I'm going to go unscripted if I may. I'm Michael Mabry. I'm in Central Hardin Fire District, Master at Whitehead's district. So I think now, first of all, I appreciate everybody's interest in this and the dialogue that we're having. For me, I looked it up the other day. My first email to the county was January 4th, 2021. That was after I met a firefighter at the Kroger Dolphin Drive gas station saying, have you been monitoring the radio lately? I said, no, I haven't. So I started monitoring Fire EMS channel and started having the oh no moments. Some of that was COVID, where it's calmed down a little bit more. But ever since then, I've been pushing this. So I guess my message is I appreciate the dialogue, even though we're having some disagreements. The Emergency Services Committee meeting, November 20th, is when we presented an example. We had crafted a capital improvement plan. We had all the apparatus that were identified as immediate replacement. We had them spread out through two options, one a purchase option or a lease payment option to try to keep our cash flow down. And then we had an operations budget. Granted, we didn't bring the spreadsheet up and go every line item, but I think it was at that meeting that I paused for a second, looked at Joey and said, and the only other thing is maybe a fire coordinator. I'm not the person for that position, so I can clearly state that. I have no vested interest in it. But I think one of our mistakes was, and I was part of the job description to look at stuff, is, and I'm in human resources, it's throw everything on the job description. And one of our mistakes, I think, is we made it seem like this guy or gal's going to grab in a truck and turn its lights on and go to a fire. That's not the intent. And I'm sorry that we didn't pull that out. The intent is, if nothing else ever happens, it's asking the county to commit to a fire coordinator. And if we consider a contract person, that's fine. But somebody to push the agenda on that ESCI report that came out, actually, Magic Clinton, I think it was in March of 2025. So when
it's got 24 on it.
Okay. That's when the data was collected, published, and presented in 2025. So I think it's my intent is, even if we have a steering committee, there's got to be somebody that picks up from what I've been trying to do somewhat as a volunteer, that has vested interest, has bought into it, and is the engine that pushes that. Even if no other revenue expense is ever needed, it's coordinating with the departments. It's maybe items like, can we better have consolidated purchasing plans, or whatever. It could be that 5 years from now, we're done, nothing else is happening, that position is no longer needed. So I just wanted to offer up that I do support the fire coordinator position, and for the sole purpose of taking that, somebody's got vested interest in it and is going to keep an eye on it versus what we've been doing for this past 12 months of present reports, wait a couple months, something doesn't happen, step on the gas again. So all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mabry, for all the work you've done thus far. We appreciate your efforts, and I want to commend you for doing that on a voluntary basis. We appreciate you.
Anyone else? Hey, Bill? Chief, sorry.
I appreciate your comments about recruitment and retention, and I agree. Recruitment and retention is a nationwide problem everywhere. So in the planning, there needs to be some enticements in there to entice volunteers. I don't know what that looks like. I'll have to do some research. But anyway, that's a, because we're going to need volunteers for a long, long time, no matter, if we make a plan to create a full-time fire department, that's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen at the size. If we hire a couple firefighters, we're still going to need volunteers. So anyway, just as we're thinking about this, that is a nationwide problem. It's not isolated to Hardin County. We'll have to think of some ways to entice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Appreciate Representative Bratcher coming in. Well, if there are no other comments, then I guess we are adjourned at 6:20. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Appreciate it.